Hi everybody, today's video is a how-to for making Disney candles. I posted a picture of some that I made in a Disney crafting group and a few of you asked me how I did it. So I'm gonna show you the ones that I've already made and then I'm gonna make a couple and show you how I put them together. The reason I started making these was because I saw some Disney inspired candles at a pop culture shop recently. There's a whole new line of them brought out and they're quite expensive. They're about 60 New Zealand dollars each, which is a lot of money for a candle. And they also are a little bit more mildly decorated than I would like. They're quite subtly inspired by Disney films and characters, and the ones that I've put together are a lot more explicit. So that is why I made the ones that I'm going to show you. I've changed the method a little bit and how I do them, but you'll see that as you go along. So this is a Little Mermaid one that I did, and if you are familiar with the line of Disney candles that has just come out, you'll already see that these are way more themed. They're quite more condensed than the ones that have come out. The other ones only have kind of, I don't know, about like 5 flowers and then maybe one little extra, but I've tried to actually incorporate like just items that make it really explicit what the candle is themed on. So this one is Beauty and the Beast. So obviously they all have kind of flowers in the colour scheme, and that was directly following on from the Disney ones that have been brought out. But then I've tried to incorporate other little things. So as you see, this has got like little roses, a little bell. So this is a Frozen one. This little Elsa was like a garden stake, and that's actually a Frozen birthday candle that I've put at the back. But also other elements, like a little snowflake pendant in behind there. This is Snow White. And Cinderella. So that's all the ones that I've done so far. Actually, I also did a Tangled inspired one, but I gave that away as a gift, so I can't show you that one. The next two I'm going to work on are going to be coloured candles rather than working with the white ones. And I will get started and show you what I'm going to do. So today's candle is going to be an Ursula inspired candle. I have quite a bit of stuff and I feel like I should comment on that in terms of the cost first. So altogether everything on the table came to about 30 New Zealand dollars, which is already half the price of the Disney candles. But actually most of these things I'll have multiple uses for. So I tend to buy a bunch of things for one candle and then I have lots of leftovers for other candles. For instance, I'm going to do a Mickey Mouse candle next, and I'm going to use these sort of yellow coloured rhinestones. And the red in here and the red in here, and you know, these sorts of colours can be used for all kinds of candles. If I did another Cinderella themed and I wanted to incorporate pink, in the future I'd like to do a frog prince type candle, you know, Tiana inspired, and I could use the green. So all up, this is about $30 worth of stuff, but I won't use it all. So I think when I did the 5 candles, I added the total cost together and each candle came out at about $15. So I will get started. The annoying thing about this candle was when I decided to do colours, I really wanted a nice deep purple for Ursula, more like the colour of these flowers, but I couldn't get one. This is the closest I could get the lavender. When I look at this, it's actually not too far off his skin tone, so I think it's going to work. The other thing I want to mention is that I do tend to have a lot of things laying around that I use in these candles. In the previous candles I showed you, you would have seen that I had like little figurines and things in there. So this Ursula Lego minifigure is something I already had at home. If you are a Disney collector like me and you've got lots of little bits, then you might find it easy to incorporate those things into your candles. But if you don't have any of those things, then well, you either leave them out or you might want to purchase some. So I haven't included in the cost the little things that I already had lying around. So these little things were my son's. He gave me little Lego pieces. That looks like a trident, and that looks kind of like a bit of a sea plant. So those things I have not included, and also this little shell that I got from the beach, which I'm going to include in the candle. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the label off that candle and just clean it up. So the candle label is proving to be incredibly hard to get off. I peeled it off and all of the residue just stayed on there. So it is currently soaking in a sink full of screaming hot water, and I'm going to deal with that later. In the meantime, while I let it soak, I'm just going to paint these two things with a bit of gold acrylic paint. I want the shell to look like the necklace that Ursula stores Ariel's voice in, and of course I want this little trident to match the one that King Triton has. So I'm going to paint those, and then I'm going to come back, hopefully with the candle ready to go. So I've painted these gold and they are now dry, and I have cleaned the candle. I'm just going to use this fine tip pen to just trace the shell pattern into the shell, just to accentuate the swirl of the necklace that Ursula wears, and then I will come back. Okay, so I've done that. Now, what I normally do, instead of like gluing the things onto the candle, is I basically melt the wax so that it sticks. So kids, don't try this at home without the supervision of an adult, but I'm going to use the extra long matches. So what I'm going to do first is just plan my candle, put things where I think they're going to go. I might try and set up the camera so you can see me doing this. Okay, so I apologize for the kind of substandard view I've got going, but I'm not very set up for these kind of videos, and this is the best I could do. So what I want to do now is plan where everything's going to go. I normally start with my flowers because they're the biggest thing. So these are from the dollar store, and obviously they come in huge bunches. So I normally get a pair of sharp pliers and just cut down, if I can show you, at the base of, not the base of the stem where it connects to the plant, but the base of where the sort of floweriness ends. And I just keep a tiny bit on there and then clip it so that I've got something that I can push down into the candle. So I'll clip a few of those off and then I'll have a look at what else I'm planning on putting in. So most of the things going into the candles are from the dollar store, apart from the little Disney type things that I'm adding. One of the things I try to think about too when I'm deciding what to buy is whether or not it matches the theme. So for instance, I picked up these roses because they've got a lovely Ursula type colour, but roses are not really going to go with the Ursula theme, I've decided. These ones I think are more appropriate because they almost look like a sea plant, so I'm going to stick with those ones. I am going to add, I think, a couple of these little paper roses, not too many because, as I say, I don't think roses are particularly the way to go for Ursula. So I'm going to add in a couple of those. I'm going to fish out the purple shells that are in this bag of beads, just a couple. I tend to only use a couple of everything because, as you'll see, the candle gets quite full and quite busy quite quickly. And then I'm going to have a look at the rhinestones and these. Now these are actually earrings. It was $1.99 for the whole packet. What I like about using little earrings, I've also got these more crystal-y looking ones, is that they have a nice solid back to push right down into the candle, so I don't really have to melt or stick anything. They just go in really nicely. So I'm going to lay out all the things that I want to include and then start looking at where they might want them to go. Okay, so everything on the mat now is what I'm going to be using for the candle. So I've got the little sea plant looking flowers, a couple of the purple roses, the purple bead shell beads. I've got some rhinestones here and also the little stud earrings. I had quite a few purple ones, but I've decided to only use the black for these because I want to incorporate a little bit more black. Everything I've got is mainly purple. I've also got these two which came in the bead packet, and they just look a little bit like a sort of a captain's steering wheel, so I think that they will look appropriate. I've also of course got the Ursula minifigure, I've got the shell and the trident that I painted, and also this little green plant thing. Sometimes I don't end up using everything, it just depends on how it ends up looking when I start putting it in, but we'll see how we go. I'm just actually going to trim off these little purple flowers. Came with a really long wire, and I'm just going to use the pliers to trim some of that off because I'm not going to be able to push these flowers way down into the candle like that. So it's good to have a bit of something to stick down into the candle, but if it's too long it's just too difficult. So I'm going to start planning now. I'm not going to stick anything in. I basically just kind of lay things around. The things like the big flowers, usually I work those around the edge, so I kind of don't need to plan where those are going to go. It's more like things like this that are going to take up space. And also I have to be careful obviously because of the wicks. Now I don't light my Disney candles because I don't want to ruin them basically. I want to keep them forever. So I don't use them, but I do try to work around the wicks just in terms of safety. For instance, the one I gave away, I don't know if that person's going to light it, so I don't want to have anything sitting, like especially flowers, sitting on the wick. So I do try to leave a bit of room around the wicks. These ones have got weird wicks because they're made of wood, which is strange. But anyway, so I'm just going to try and plan, and then I'll come back and show you what the plan is. Okay, so I've played around with it a little bit, and I think everything is going to fit. I'll just show you. So, I mean, this is the rough plan. Obviously nothing is stuck in. The trident I'm going to try and put in on an angle. You might remember there's a scene in the movie where the trident, after Ursula has been defeated, kind of floats down into the water and lands like this. So I'm going to try and do that. But I can't do that until I'm putting it in more permanently. So I'm going to take everything out. I'm going to start with the flowers and then the rhinestones because they become the outline of the candle, and then these pieces go in the middle. I think at this stage I'm going to fit everything. Sometimes it gets a little overcrowded when the flowers are in, but as I said, because I'm not lighting them, I'm not really too worried about that. So I'm just going to start doing it, and as I said, I'm going to use the matches to just melt the surface, and hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing. The other thing I forgot to say was that I try and make a front of the candle, so I try to decide which way it's going to face, because normally on the front I will put a cutout, as you saw on my other ones, like the Ariel one had like the purple mermaid shell bra and that kind of thing. So try and decide what will be the front of your candle. Like I don't like the wicks to be on a weird angle. I would normally have them like this, and then this is the front. And then when I'm placing my main centerpieces, I make sure that they are facing the front of the candle. So I'm just going to start sticking in the flowers. For the flowers, I normally just use a match, and I hover it over the top of the candle just to soften the wax a little bit, and then I just try and push the whole stem down to about there, excuse my crappy nails, down into the candle. And then once we've got the border in of the flowers, then I start using the rhinestones. So I should warn that I have set a couple of flowers on fire before doing this. So just if it goes on fire, you know what to expect. So yeah, I'm just softening the top of it there just so it goes in a bit easier, and I normally do enough for 2 or 3 flowers just while I'm already here. And now I'll just stick pretty close to the edge, as close as I can get really. If I'm having trouble, which I am now, sometimes I cut a little bit more off the end, just so it's not so much that has to go down into it. I have moved them around quite a bit. I even took one in the car out with me for a couple of hours, and they didn't move around, so I think this is a reasonably effective technique. I feel like these candles are harder, the wax is harder than the last ones I did, the white ones, because I'm having so much trouble getting it in. I'll just try again with the heat. If I'm not kind of getting enough heat from just hovering over, sometimes I actually like dig the match into the wax, which is what I'm going to do now because I can't get it in as far as I would like. Alright, stick that in there. It may be that I used harder flowers last time, which could also be a factor. Oh wow, I'm having a really bad time. Okay, I had a lot of trouble with this and I could not get the flower to go down in. So my solution this time is I've cut the flowers right down to the bottom of the head. And I'm just going to heat it and then sit the flower in there. So I've almost dug a little hole out with the end of the match. And hopefully that'll just stick, basically, because I cannot get the big strings or big sprigs of the foliage to sit in there. Let's push it down. Yep, that's how it's going to have to be. So I'm going to go around and do the rest of the flower border and then I'll come back. Okay, I don't know why, but these flowers have just turned out to be a complete headache. I couldn't get them to stick down, and then I got desperate and I pulled out my hot glue gun and I still couldn't get them to stick. So I ended up like carving out little holes in underneath them and you know, melting and then planting them in, but I'm still not sure exactly how secure they are. They still look like they might move around a bit, but that's the best I can achieve at the moment. I don't know why this has happened, because every other time it's been just a piece of cake, so I have to assume it's the candle that I've picked. The last candles I got, I bought them from a department store. These ones were from a dollar store, so I'm not sure if there's a difference in the kind of wax or what. But anyway, I'm just going to continue on, because if I don't forge ahead, I'm going to be here all day trying to stick the flowers on. So I'm going to add now the little paper rose flowers, the little black earrings, and I've got these rhinestones which I'm going to add. Whoops. So I'm going to add all of those, and then I try to add those in the border in between the flowers just to thicken it up, and then it leaves the center for the sort of main feature pieces. I'll probably also add in the little beads, the little shell beads that I had, and then all that will be left will be the little gold items I painted and the Ursula. So I will come back when I have thickened up the border with the other parts. I actually just wanted to come back in the middle of this and just also point out that, as well as making sure I know where the front of the candle is, I also like to make sure things are even. So if I'm putting a black one there, I will try to put it on a diagonal matching right across, because I don't want kind of two of these here and then something different on the other side. It's not always perfect. It doesn't always work out perfectly. Sometimes there's a flower in the exact opposite of where this one is, but roughly I try to keep them even. So if there's something on one side, there'll usually be another on the other side. So I'm just adding the rhinestones. Excuse me, I keep coughing today. And I'm as well as being even, I'm also trying to do kind of two borders. So the outside border I try to keep for flowers and other large items, and then I try to do kind of an inside border with smaller items like the rhinestones. Okay, so I have done the borders, and now I'm going to add the middle pieces. I might just change the angle of the camera so you can see what I'm doing. So this is going to be the front, and this is what we've got so far. So most of the candle's inspiration or theme comes from the colours, basically. And that's just going in the same tradition as the ones that I already saw. So the ones in the stores, some of them were just flowers, even in movies that didn't really have anything to do with flowers. Like there was a Hades candle from Hercules and it had flowers in it. So the idea is just to have kind of flowers and things that theme the colours. But I've gone a bit more than that in terms of finding little things like the shell beads and the rhinestones. So basically the plan is to have Ursula right in the middle. I'm not going to worry about like wick safety for this one because it's a little bit smaller than the candles I normally use, and as I said, I'm not going to light it. I'm really definitely not going to light it now because I can't get the flowers to stick down properly and everything's going to move around, so it's probably just best to keep it decorative. So I'm going to stick down the rest of the pieces, and when I come back it will be nearly finished. Okay, so this is basically the finished product. The only thing I'm going to add, and I'm not going to be able to add it in this video, is the sticker that I normally put on the front, only because I have run out of ink in my printer. So normally what I do is I just go onto Google Images and find a picture of something that's symbolic of the character or the film I've based the candle on. So you know, not a picture of a character or anything, but on the other ones you would have seen that I used like Cinderella's shoe, the bra for the Little Mermaid, the apple for Snow White. So probably for this I would use probably a picture of the little shell that I've tried to create there, the necklace, and I will just print that out in colour, cut it up, and then basically Mod Podge it on the front of the candle. So apart from that little addition, this is the finished product. This is my Ursula inspired candle. So let me know what you think. I'm going to work on a Mickey Mouse one next, as well as a Tinkerbell. Let me know what other ones you would like to see, and if you have any thoughts or ideas, if you make one yourself, just let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.